Yeah, I see the live.
All right, seems we are live now. All right, so hi everybody. What's up, world? We are here in the IDF. We are here for this AGM 2018, and we're here with me, Mike, and Max. And Max now will explain us how this AGM will be structured, and then we'll move forward with the slides. Please, Max.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight to the IDF's annual general meeting for 2018. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the meeting. So during the duration of the meeting, feel free to drop any questions in the comment section below, and we will review afterwards. As Fede mentioned, tonight we have the 2017-2018 board members present. My name is Max Vickers. I'm the secretary, and Federico, the president, Mike Gerard, the treasurer, and unfortunately, Carl Sembrano, Zach Madam, and Billy Miners were unable to make it. Tonight, we will be going through the 2017 annual season report, 2017 financial report, the forecasted budget for 2018, and our 2018 race schedule. The meeting will last roughly an hour long. And here's Fede to give you the recap of this past year.
Yes, all right, guys. So let's move forward with the slides. If we can see them, so we can follow what we are talking about. And can you please call in? Okay, thank you so much. So here we are, and moving through the slide number 3. We are giving a recap about what happened in the 2017 season and how it worked out. So first of all, it was a long and an intense year for everybody here at the IDF. First of all, because in January we had the election for the new board members, and 5 out of 7 members were completely new to the board. So we had to take a little bit of time to set ourselves and to get the proper know-how to move forward with all the process of the federation. So basically, we spent a lot of time this year to understand the roles and all the tasks that already was going on. And I would really like to thanks a lot Coma, Colin, Robo, and Lee to help us through the years with all the processes. And another big news that we had in 2017 was the new timing system. And I can say that it was really a great success. And despite, to thank all the volunteers that work at the events and the ones that worked with the new timing system, I would like also to thank Colin for the first setup and the study of this new timing system that worked really, really well in mostly every race. So that's why at this point we decided to use in the 2018 season just this new timing system instead of the old one. Another important things that we covered this year was the idea that we had every day about the thing that they incentivize the junior class to participate at our events is one of the key for grow our sports. So that's why we decided to give a part of the prize money also to the junior and not only to the open and the other classes, because it's obvious that they are the future of our sports. So we hope that this little prize money for them was a nice push, and we hope to see more juniors this year at the season. Moving forward, other good things that we did this year, it was about the early release of the schedule, because it was one of the most hard goal to reach this year. And yes, and it was this goal to release the schedule really early. And after a lot of online meetings with all the organizers around the world, we was able to deliver this schedule in October 13 with almost the 50% more of the event compared to 2017. So this was an important goal that we reached, and mostly the cool part was that we chosen this new event wisely, and we tried to choose events that was able to guarantee a status of world racing. And with the early release of the schedule, the last gift of the year that we gave in December was the early bird registration system, because as far as the priority registration system and model didn't work out anymore in the last years, we thought that find a way to incentivize the event attendance in order to drop the number of events canceled as it happened in the last years. So that's why came out the idea of the early bird. And so this idea of offer a discount prices on a certain amount of tickets in order to guarantee a minimum attendance to the organizers at their events, and to give to the riders the possibility to save some money for their competitions. And we had great feedback from that, because we had nearly 100 registrations right now since the 25th of December, and I think that it was really a good goal. And looking at the 2017 season also, overall the safety at the events was pretty good. We saw that there was an improving of the safety in most of the events that we had in 2016. And in 2017, we kept to had as many feedback as possible from the organizer in order to help them to improve the safety in 2018. So I don't know, Max, if you want to give a talk about the initiative that we did from the marketing side.
Yeah, for sure. So with this past year, we explored doing more paid partnerships with independent media producers. So we started the year at Newton's Nation and hired a company called Frame Chasers to do high quality pictures and videos for us throughout the duration of the event. And for each day, we had a series of images that we were able to post in our recaps, as well as on social media, as well as little video snippets that we published. And we explored this at a few other events, including Kazakov, where we worked with 3 heads to compile a series of videos. And then we rounded out the year at Killington, where each day we had a photographer and a videographer on site, and they were taking some high quality content that we were submitting throughout the day to our social media platforms, and then using for little highlight videos at the end of each day. And these paid partnerships not only allowed us to offer better media coverage while the events are current, but they also started an archive for us of media that we now have access to. And so with this media, we can work with other outlets, like news outlets. And so this past year, we had some videos that were transmitted live globally on BBC, and we worked with the Olympic Channel on creating a 35-minute documentary, which is going to be published this coming May. And this is particularly exciting because skateboarding was just inducted into the Olympics for 2020. And although downhill is not included in this, the video that the Olympic Channel is covering is the very first skateboarding video that they're doing, and it's covering downhill. So it's quite exciting and positions us well for work with the Olympic Committee in the future.
Yes, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool. So Mike, if you want to go give a recap, yeah.
So just a few, a little bit about the 2017 season and our objectives. I mean, as we said, the first thing was just filling out the IDF board, figuring out our roles. And then as we got sort of smoothed into the season, we just wanted to make sure we could deliver a successful season, even though we did have a couple cancellations. Those are kind of a curveball, never something we want to experience, but we could learn from that. Fede kind of mentioned how that informed our desire to offer early bird and other tools to help ensure minimum budgets are met with registrant revenues. Another big thing, I mean, it's no mystery that events definitely have the most powerful impact on our sport, on our membership, on the IDF. The community overall is super influenced by the events, the quality and quantity of the events. This year, we sort of witnessed firsthand the negative impact of a reduction in the calendar. I believe this is the least events we had in several years in 2017. So knowing that and inheriting this role on the board, we really wanted to focus on just regrowing the event calendar. And I think we're pretty proud with what we did there. Part of it was increasing our Continental prize money. The idea with that is not every athlete can afford to travel the whole world. A lot of the riders may be able to travel around their own continent a bit. And that's kind of a good engine for growth and somewhere that we can throw some gas on the fire. Because there are people who can get engaged on that level traveling semi-locally and not yet globally, we wanted to incentivize that, and we shifted a lot of prize money into the continental categories. We're going to be doing a similar strategy, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but we were happy with that, and combining that with the junior prize money, that's another important growth area. On the new events category, we wanted to prospect new territories. South Korea looks awesome first year, very promising, and something we're happy to grow again. We have a new event in Russia, some more activity in South America, and then another part is just regrowing previously strong areas, especially North America, which still has our strongest active user base, but had the least number of events. We only had one event in North America. So that was important, not only to prospect new territories, but also to regrow areas that we know we have active members. We know there are racers who are experienced and they just need to be given the opportunity to race. So really trying to reach out, identify promising events, work together with the organizers and get them on board with the IDF and sort of see our vision for what we wanted, to do moving forward. And that just sort of culminated into this early release in mid-October of what we consider to be a really strong 2018 calendar. We'll talk a little bit more, I think, maybe on the next slide about the level of correlation between events and members and racers, but we definitely feel strong about that. And then I think Max is going to take it back over, just talking a little bit about this last bit, what we want to improve in 2018.
Yep.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, we had some pretty ambitious marketing objectives that we wanted to meet. And we had some really great coverage that I mentioned before at some of the races where we hired a third-party video or picture producer. And that's something that we want to focus more on this coming year, is making sure that each event has consistent coverage throughout the year, and working with those independent producers just to build good relationships with them so that we have some really consistent coverage throughout the year. So, whatever the event may be, we're transmitting media on a daily basis from that event, and just making sure that it's consistent and reflecting that too with our recaps. With each event, we want to have a daily recap from the on-site IDF representative and getting that out just in a timely manner so that people that are at home looking for the results, trying to figure out what's going on at the event, can hop on the website and have access to all that information at the end of each day. And we're working on a more structured communication plan at the moment. We're finalizing that within the next, before the end of the month, and just working on allocating our budget and making sure that those relationships with media producers are all set up before the year starts.
Cool, that's nice. So as everybody could understand, we have a really lot of work to do here at the IDF. And yeah, giving a look at the next slide, yes, you can see that we are working on a system to ensure that our board members are engaged and that they are sharing the workload and they are participating at our bi-weekly meeting. So we created this matrix where we try to understand the attendance of the board members, because the attendance is really an important component on this table. And here you can see from this table, you can see the attendance over the 27 meetings that we had last year with the new board. And just Carl have less meeting because he didn't start at the beginning of the year like us. But this is basically the picture or how it was in the 2017. So I think we can move forward to talk a little bit about the champions from 2017 that we had. This that you're seeing the world champion of each category. So we had again this year from Brazil, champion from Brazil. After Carlos, this year we had Thiago Gomes Lessa. And for the juniors, we had from New Zealand Taylor Cook, and from the women from the US Emily Pross, and for the master class we had Derek Blanquer from Spain, and for the luge class we had the young gun Ryan Farmer from California, in the US. And but we had not only just the world champions, we also had our Continental Champions from 2017. And here we can see that for the South American Championship, on the open class, we had the Pepe Laporte, that is a really good friend with Thiago. And for the junior, we had Bruno Vidal Vieira. And for the woman, Luana Campos. For the luge class, we had Luis Mogrovejo, that is also the organizer of the couple of races in Peru. And for the master class, we had Leonardo Di Scacciati. While moving through the European champion, last year we saw a really great rider skating around the events. And this young gun is Tristan Cardillo, that not only won the junior class, but he also won the open class last year. So we wish all the best for Tristan. And for the woman, we had again Lydie Begg as a winner of the woman class. For the luge, we had Andrei Ilic. And for the master class, again, we had Damian Derek for the Europe. Moving forward with the Australian champions, we had in the open Mitch Thompson. And for the junior, we had Taylor Cook again. And for the women, we had Elissa Ma. For the buster, Benjamin Hai. And for luge, again, even this last year, Abdil Mazan. For North America, in the open, we had Emily again on the top of the podium, even not only in the women class, but also in the open class. So it was really a great season for her, 2017. For the junior, we had Daniel Minsky as a winner. And for the luge, again, Ryan Farmer. And for the master class, we had Jeff Monolowski.
And one other important thing to point out here, I mean, we don't want to just show you who each person is, but you'll see that it's actually kind of rare that the world champion in a category is also the continental champion. And we think that's important. That's part of the reason and justification for incentivizing the continental champs. For example, South America, as you know, everybody has seen, Brazil has been very dominant, but Pepe was not on the top 3 in worldwide, but he managed to take home the open downhill skateboarding championship in South America. So giving someone the opportunity to thrive and have a good season, even if they're not able to make every continental stop, we believe that's important. And then we've seen that repeated in other categories, and also the ability that you can win 2 different categories within your own continent. So like Emily Pross and Tristan, both taking home 2 different categories, so they're able to combine that prize money. So that actually kind of compounds the investment that we want to make within these regions that will contribute towards more global growth.
Yep, exactly. So moving forward with the slides, we can maybe Mike, you want to give a little introduction to these numbers about our members?
Sure, yeah. So we had 1,111 active members, slightly down from last year, but that sort of coincides with the decrease in events. But I believe this is the most independent countries we've ever had, with 66 different countries. So it's really cool to see. The most percentage in active membership is from the US, which has historically been the case, but there's a really long sliding curve down through the rest of these countries. So, 66 different countries. This is actually the first time we've had Brazil in number 2 in terms of participation. So they've actually bypassed Canada in terms of active members. And no surprise, Brazil has really been putting on the pressure, supporting their riders and getting motivated and pursuing, these continental and worldwide champion positions. So it's awesome to see Brazil continuing to grow. We do expect, and I think maybe this is a good segue into the next slide with the figures, but we know we kind of crunch some numbers just to see exactly what the correlation is between number of events and number of riders. So we do think that with 50% more events next year, and they're all carefully vetted events that we're confident in, we do think we'll see some nice, sort of new growth blown into this membership base. But we still have a really strong base of members, well over 1,000 from all over the world.
Yeah, maybe the next slide I can explain it a little bit better. Yeah, exactly.
So if you want me to keep going here, I have a few metrics here. So this sort of shows the IDF figures historically over time, bit of a bell curve in the total membership and the total number of racers. The nationalities is where we're seeing that growth up through 66 different nationalities. But the key thing here is you look at the fourth and fifth rows, races and World Cups. We went down from 18 down to 12 total races from 2016 to 2017, down from 7 to 5 World Cups. But looking at the overall number of events, for example, from 2015 to 2016, you've got 21 races down to 18. That's a 14% reduction in events. Looking at the members, 1667 to 1437, that's also an exact 14% reduction in membership. So there's a very strong, in that case, a one-to-one correlation between events and members. So we see that trend continue a little bit in the next year, 22.7% reduction in members from 2016 to 2017, and a 33% reduction in events. So not exactly one-to-one, but once again, strong statistical correlation and strong reason for optimism, because that suggests that if we're able to regrow 50%, and they're all events that we're confident in, we might not see a 50% growth, but we are almost guaranteed to see some strong regrowth, especially in areas like North America, where 2017 there was only one race that was an IDF World Cup. There's very little incentive to join, whereas now we have 3 events in a tour, and South America, a really strong tour. Europe's tour continues to be strong, as is Asia Pacific. So good reasons within each region to join the IDF and to contribute as a member towards what we're trying to sort of grow and develop here. So we're definitely optimistic, and these numbers sort of back things up, back up what we're expecting to see.
Thank you, Mike.
And then if we look at the communication report for this past year, over the last few years, we've been primarily using Facebook and Instagram as our social media outlets. And on our Facebook, we started the year with about 34,000 likes and grew to 39,000 likes. This was slightly lower than our growth in 2016. In 2016, we grew about 7,000 likes with 13% year-over-year growth. And in 2017, we grew close to 5,000 likes with a decrease in 31.8% year-over-year growth. And our overall number of posts between years slightly decreased. We found this to be from the lower number of races that we had. We were posting less about the registration, the media, just general announcements of the events, and that led to the lower number of posts that we had. On Instagram, we saw somewhat similar metrics. In 2016, we ended the year with 15,000 likes or 15,000 followers, and in 2017, we ended it with 18,000 followers, with slightly lower year growth, but the difference was pretty minimal there. Our overall number of posts between years actually increased. We tried to stay very conscious of putting out as much media as possible for the on-site IDF representatives while they're at the events. We were trying to create the feeling of live media at the events, and so we're just staying conscious and posting as much as we could. And with our increased number of races this coming year and our overall higher focus on that media production, we think these numbers will increase in terms of our just year-over-year growth. And then if we look at the website analytics for 2017, we experienced a similar slowdown in traffic. However, the decline was pretty minimal. From 2016 to 2017, we went down around 1,000 users from the previous year. with a slightly lower number of sessions. The drop in sessions was due primarily to the lower number of races. People check into the website oftentimes to see which events are current, register for events, check the results from events, and with a lower number of races, we found this number to decrease. The most significant change we saw between the years was the switch between the visitors and their countries of origins. So the United States has stayed consistently strong as the number one most visitors from that country, but we saw a switch between Brazil and Australia. Australia surpassed Brazil slightly in 2017, and we thought this was due to the return of Newton's Nation and the large amount of PR that surrounded the event. So Newton's came back to the circuit this past year and kicked off the tour, and the organizers did a really great job of getting local and national coverage for the event, and it created a really great organic draw of non-skaters to the website. So that was what helped make Australia surpass Brazil in terms of visitors. And financial report, Mike.
Yes, so this is a pretty dense looking slide. Most of my takeaways I'll talk about on the next slide, because we sort of take this matrix of numbers and crunch it down into some takeaways. So, you know, we have always sort of the goal to run a neutral budget. We have expenses all over the place. This slide is mostly just to show you, you know, we have a whole matrix of expenses, everything from shipping around prizes, timing system, office expenses, PayPal, fees, entries. We have revenue from our members and from sanctioning fees, and then expenses on just about everything else, traveling around. So rather than look too you know, straining our eyes on this one, let's go to slide 13, and I can talk about sort of the takeaway trends that we've seen and what we can glean from our financial report. One of the financial hurdles this year was just our decision to invest in a new timing system. It's definitely an expense that we're happy with. We believe it was a good investment, but that was about $10,000 and about another $10,000 on repairing and maintaining the old timing system, which is probably going to end up being ultimately sold or parted out a bit as we transition further over to the new timing software. But that was a substantial investment. We increased our prize money for champions up to $10,600 because of our increase in we're adding the junior payout. Compounding this is the 15% decrease in revenue from our membership, and then 18.6% reduction in event sanctioning fees. Those respectively represented $10,000 less in membership revenue and $5,000 less in sanctioning fees. But despite the big investment and slightly less revenue, we were able to economize in some other places. So compared to our forecast, the 2017 budget had us spending substantially more on airfare and expenses. So we saved 37.5% on those expenses. We saved half of our budget as laid out for IT, and 60% on consulting and accounting. So we tried to cut expenses where we could, just so that we wouldn't be running up a big deficit. We didn't want to touch the prize money because we do believe in the value of that in sustaining and growing our membership. So overall, once all is said and done, crunching in the numbers, out in the wash, we were down to about a $5,500 deficit for the year, but that is substantially less of a deficit than if we had run up the rest of the budget as anticipated. So we're pretty confident with that. We're not too concerned about the $5,500 debt, which we'll carry over. And we've incorporated that into the 2018 budget, which is on slide 14. So the 2018 budget, we do account for this $5,500 debt from 2017. You can also see that we have our sanctioning fees are adjusted based on the anticipated fees from each event, based on World Cup or World Qualifier status. And we anticipate about 1,100 membership payments. If we do see some regrowth in this membership, then we anticipate that could actually be a pleasant surprise. You know, if we get up to 1,200, 1,300 membership fees, then this will allow us to sort of regrow our budget. But even as so, anticipating or budgeting sort of conservatively around a stable membership base of 1,100 members, we have laid out our expenses for each continent, trying to be a little bit thrifty when it comes to travel expenses and who we're sending where, but making sure we have plenty of personnel on hand. After all is said and done, we anticipate an almost exactly, well, I guess actually the way this is laid out, exactly 4,500 on either side. So if we go to the next slide, just once again, some takeaways. We're planning to actually increase our prize money to 12,500, which is proportional to the regrowth in total number of events. We're going to do the same strategy as 2017 in terms of continental focus. We'll be doing the same overall split in dollars between, or percentage split between worldwide and continental champions, but we'll have to make those exact dollar decisions later because we do a proportional payout based on the total number of paying members per region. So we want to make sure everybody knows that we'll be spending relatively the same percentage-wise between World Champs and Continental, and then the exact dollars will be decided once we see how many people sign up within each territory for each event. Another new expense, now that we no longer have to spend on a completely new timing system, we do want to make sure, based on our member feedback, two potential areas of exposure or of potential problems and rider protests are always going to be at the starting line and at the finish line. We're beefing up our starting line system, making sure everyone's using the same software. We're requiring use of the Endo Starter app for every World Cup and strongly recommending it for every qualifier. And we have, in the next few slides, we will talk about rule changes, but we've made sort of streamlined and more explicit explanation of the starting process. And then we also plan to invest in a finish line camera, one for every continent. So we're not spending money shipping it all over the world, but that way we can make sure we have photo finish capability for every race, regardless of what territory they're in. The transponders work great as a first line of defense, but in any case of a rider protest, the camera will be the final system that we defer to. So we want to make sure we have one of those at every event. We'll be investing in some enforcement tools for tech inspection. Once again, we'll talk about rule changes, but we are reducing the weight limitation for downhill skate. So we'll also be making sure that we have the tools on hand to make sure that in the event of tech inspections, we have the tech to actually enforce that, which has been a weakness in the past. We also want to have the goal is to have 3 IDF officials at each World Cup. We found that was really helpful. The events where we had 3 IDF officials, we could make sure we had all of our bases covered, timing system working. Killington, we had 3 reps. The timing system worked flawlessly from the second practice run through the conclusion of the event. And we were able to live broadcast, deliberate over rider protests and all that sort of stuff. We'll also be improving our race promotion via marketing and social media. Basically putting our money into trusted local partners to generate media that is consistent and reliably premium quality throughout the tour. Collaborating with the regional media partners that have proven themselves to be reliable, and also collaborating with the event organizers, and basically between the 3 of those areas, knowing that we'll come away with valuable deliverables and sort of collateral to use for whether it's approaching corporate sponsors, media partners, or just covering the event for our paying members. And then we did have some success with our social media promotional tools, some paid advertisements, some sort of Instagram and Facebook promos on what we believe to be our strongest content, and also using that to help generate registrations. So we will be anticipating spending a bit on that.
Cool. Thanks.
That's pretty much the 2018 budget buttoned up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike, for this explanation. And yeah, this is another important good point, another milestones that we have for 2018 and beyond. because since this year, we not just from this year, but we started to talk and deal a little bit with the World Skate Federation. That is actually the main world governing body that recognized by the Olympic Committee, and is the body that is managing the skateboarding for the Olympics at the moment. And I'm really happy that we can have here with us tonight Luca Basilico, that is actually the chairman from skateboarding inside the World Skate. So, hi, Luca.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks to be here with us.
Thanks to you for having me. First of all, just a little correction. I'm actually taking care of skateboarding management inside World Skate, and I'm one of the member of the World Skateboarding Commission inside Figures, just to be sharp on that. And just before everything, I would like to just congratulate on how you're running your federation, and in general the really professional and dedicated way you're taking care of the sport. It's been a really great and pleasant discover process, let's say. I have been skating myself since 1989. I currently still do a couple of 3 times a week, as much as I can, and of course mainly always involved with, let's say, straight transition skateboarding. I got in touch with the world of downhill around 2010, when I first met Federico, because of the work we started doing together for the Italian Federation. And it's been a really good discovery of the whole great and really organized environment you set up, and congratulations for that. Getting to us and to World Skate, I just wanted to give you a little background of what World Skate is, and how we ended up with World Skate, and the whole process that took us there. So, as you know, World Skate has been sanctioned as the world governing body under its previous name, which was FIRS, the International Roller Sports Federation, in 2017. And before that time, there's never been an international federation, a world governing body for skateboarding, despite the fact that actually there always been a structure of like independent events spread throughout the world, with different promoters that were having series, but never actually worldwide connected all through the series. And the whole process of taking skateboarding to the Olympics began around 2003, 2004, when actually a few different, let's say, agents into the skateboarding industry got contact more or less directly, and with and being referred the interest of the International Olympic Committee on skateboarding, and just bringing skateboarding into the game. Starting from then, actually there were already a number of events connected in Europe, and a series of national federation, I would rather say national association of skateboarding throughout the world. Not everywhere, lots of them in Europe, few of them in South America. And that's about when I mean, everyone that was doing like national association was connected, and it's when we got together back then in 2004, and we decided to start the International Skateboarding Federation in order to protect and guide the process of taking skateboarding to the Olympics if it ever happened. And about the same time, the International Roller Sports Federation also got interested in taking skateboarding to the Olympics. And it's been like 10 years of this whole process going on, where the Roller Sports Federation claimed representancy on to represent skateboarding and become the world governing body, and at the same time, on another side of events, ISF, International Skateboarding Federation, was doing the same. The whole process took us to 2017, when actually the International Olympic Committee mediated an agreement in between FIRS and the International Skateboarding Federation, and found a way, a working agreement to make it happen. And this takes us to 2016, August, when skateboarding has been voted into the Olympics. Before getting into the details of how the rule structure at the beginning was set up, it has got to be said that skateboarding is in the Olympics and will be in the Olympics into 2020 for Tokyo. And it got into the Olympics through a new system of adding sports that has been put in place let's say 18 months before. And so it was like this process of adding disciplines for the single event. As a matter of fact, starting from this edition of the Olympic Games, the local organizing committee of the Olympic Games has got the opportunity to inquire the International Olympic Committee and ask to add disciplines that the local organizing committee deem are relevant and important for the success of the game, of that specific edition of the Olympic Games. So this happened for Tokyo, and actually it was FIRS to make it happen, because it was the federation in which had the institutional status to actually propose, get it accepted by the local organizing committee, and guide the whole political process till the end. So getting to August 2017, it's when, as a matter of fact, ISF and FIRS got together, and FIRS was given the governance of the sport. So FIRS has got established as the world governing body on skateboarding, and ISF was partnering with FIRS in order to constitute this Tokyo 2020 Skateboarding Commission that could guide and take care of all the technicalities in terms of sport that were necessary to take skateboarding to the Olympics and represent it in the best way possible. In the first years of activity, it was pretty easy and pretty quick for everyone to understand that the agreement and the operations were far from smooth and happening, because the whole process of recognizing the national federation and setting the worldwide structure in place wasn't actually working. There was like two separate groups working on skateboarding, and was not generating any real good progress. So as a matter of fact, in last year, 2017, in March, FIRS and ISF got back together, sit at a table, and decided that they need in some way to get together in a deeper way. So this whole process took 6 months to happen. Like battery problems, sorry. Okay, it took like 6 months to happen, and part of this process was for FIRS to rebrand, as a matter of fact, and this rebranding happened in September 2017, and it's when the Congress of FIRS voted a change of statute that evolved FIRS from the old name to the new brand and naming that is actually WorldSkate. And this is about when Gary Ream, the president of the International Skateboarding Federation, was appointed as chairman of the Skateboarding Technical Commission inside FIRS, named World Skateboarding Commission, and started working from inside FIRS with establishing a technical commission, the World Skateboarding Commission, which is now has been put in place in late November, week more or less, and this is where we are right now. The way WorldSkate operates, it's similar to most of the multisports federation, where every sport has got an autonomy, a complete autonomy when it's a matter of deciding of how to manage the sport, rules, sanctioning of events, coaching, teaching, and everything involved with that, but everything functioning through the technical commission under a same umbrella that it's led by the president of WorldSkate that gets elected every 4 years. And yeah, I think this is about where we are. In the meantime, all the work of let's say ruling the sport, create the rules needed to take skateboarding into the Olympics began, and we are working on it.
Cool. Thanks a lot for this insight, Luca, about WorldSkate. Thanks a lot. Okay. Thanks a lot for internet.
Just to, as I mentioned before, I got to know Federico since 2010, and we've been working on the Italian Skateboarding Federation, where the structure of the sport it's pretty much the same as the one I told you about WorldSkate. So we are operating through a technical commission inside the Italian Roller Sports Federation. And so just by working together here and there, we started talking about a possible evolution that it's up actually to every party involved, but in the midterm will possibly take more disciplines under WorldSkate and being represented by WorldSkate.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing that.
Cool. Yes. We will too. So thanks a lot, Luca, to be here at the meeting. And yeah, now we'll move forward with the other news that we had this year. And early in January, we had the new rule book that was published. And I think Max can give you some insight about the little rules changes that we did in the new rule book.
Definitely, yep. Yeah, thank you again, Luca. That's really exciting that skateboarding is being introduced in 2020 and good for all disciplines in the long run. So new rule book. As you know, we're continually evolving as a sport. It's up to the IDF to help nurture that evolution in a way that not only creates a safe environment for riders, but then also keeps the sport highly competitive. And so based on the feedback from this past season, we've come up with the following rule changes. One of the hot topics is speed suits. And so we added a rule, a clause to the rule book that states the exterior surface of the race suit must be made of leather and or Kevlar, and speed suits are not allowed. Towards the end of the season, we took a poll of our membership base, and most of the membership, including some of the top pros from around the world, support this rule change. And it's intended to improve rider safety, primarily due to the heat and sliding characteristics of a speed suit, and maintain a more level playing field across all riders. And because the advantage of a speed suit would essentially disappear if everyone ended up racing in them. And then clauses 2 and 3 have to do with the starting procedure in terms of the movement and the placement of your feet. And so when you're on the start line and the official states racer set, it's up to the riders to not make any excessive movement from that point onward until the go command is set. This was due to riders maybe making too much movement at the start line, and other riders either doing a false start because of that excessive movement, or just being distracted. And so it's up to the official on the start line to determine that excessive movement.
And there's also one important distinction too, is that we have two different rules, one for vocal commands, one for endo starter with beeps. So we wanted to make sure to have a clearly delineated and explained how each of those separate processes will work, because not every event uses the same starting procedure. But we need to make sure that whether it's vocal or with endo starter, it's going to be understood. And then there's also the distinction is that there's no excessive movement after the first beep if you're using endo starter. So that's basically, we don't want to make sure that if someone's super vigilant at the start line, that everyone's getting DQ'd just for moving a tiny bit when the whole process is just beginning. But then after that next beep, no movement is allowed whatsoever. So we kind of wanted to make sure, logically speaking, the closer you get to the start command, the less movement is allowed. And then after, midway through the process, no movement is allowed whatsoever. So trying to give the starting marshal some space for judgment up to an extent, but then once you get midway through the starting procedure, no movement is allowed whatsoever. So towing the line between practicality, but also enforceability.
Yep. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Mike. And for reference, this new rulebook, version 1.4, is available on the website for anyone that is curious and wants to see the rule changes. The fourth update was in regards to the helmets and the spine protectors. We highly recommend certified EPS full-face helmets be used at all races, and we also highly recommend that back protectors are used. This update's more in line with existing helmet practices and does not diminish rider safety. Back protector article was added because we want to incentivize the use of certified back protectors at all races. Rule change number 5 was in regards to skateboard weights. So any weight additions are permitted on boards as long as the weight of the board does not exceed the 5 kilogram total weight limit. Before this year, that weight limit was 7 kilograms, and we believe the 5 kilograms to be a more reasonable and safe upper weight bound for the equipment that riders are racing on. This also greatly reduces any opportunity to add ballast that we do not support. So this past year, we saw riders adding an excessive amount of lead weights to their boards, and now this lower weight limit inhibits that.
Yeah, so there's no explicit ban of adding weight, but 5 kilograms is closer to what you would expect a board without ballast to weigh. So unless you had a super lightweight board, there would be no opportunity to add ballast, and you'd get no additional benefit compared to having a normal board that weighs around 5 kilograms.
Yep, that is correct. Finish line procedure. We saw, the transponders still serve as the primary form of judging placement. However, if there is a contested finish, we look at the finish line, and it's up to the IDF official to either disagree or agree with the result. With a contested finish, there will be video evidence that is referred to determine the final decision, and protesters will be entertained and reviewed after each round of racing. And then point 7, technical inspection. In this case, the IDF has decided to make tech inspections possible at any point or location during the event, especially at the starting line. This is more practical and significant than a pre-race tech inspection, which we found was often not conducted at events. However, pre-race tech inspection is still subject to happen. It's up to the event organizer to decide.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's why we was also we thought about putting the budget of 2018 some money for more GoPros. That's why, because we want to ensure the results, the finish lines at the start line, so to avoid any protests, to solve any of the protests. So I think we can move forward to the best part of the year. So the World Cup tour, and I think I don't know. I think we have Carl here with us that maybe he will explain us the world tour. But any Carl? Hi.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, world.
Hi, Carl. Good morning.
Morning.
So, like Fede mentioned, we started last year during October, filling out the 2018 World Tour, and we have 18 races this year, 11 World Qualifying Series and 7 World Cups, and we have it in 4 IDF regions. So we start off with a legendary track in Newtons. Newtons is back this year. The legendary track in Australia, run by the Australian Skateboard Racing Association, headed by James Hopkins, is back. And they open up the season in April 6th, and followed by 2 races in the Philippines, organized by myself and Luzon Skateboard Racing. It both happened on a weekend, with the weekend in for island times in the Philippines, and then after it's the second World Cup for the season. There are 2 World Cups in Asia Pacific. It's Arirang Hellfest in South Korea, headed by John and the group from South Korea, and then we take a break for almost 2 months before we start off the busy Euro Tour. Handled by Transylvania Downhill, headed by Adrian Lupascu. The Sick Gondola rides is going to be part of the World Tour this year. And then we travel a bit going to King's Gate. And then after that, it's the 10th year of the Kozakov. Kozakov Challenge is going to be on 10th year. And it's going to be again headed by Honza. It's a World Cup. And then after that, it's a bit of travel again to Italy, still in Europe, for the next World Cup, sponsored by Italian Federation, headed by our own president, Fede. For the Verdicchio race, it's going to be the World Cup this year. And then in Europe, after that, it's going to be Sankey. It's going to be a new race on the World Tour, by people in Russia, headed by Misha's name, yeah. And then that ends that month, and then we go back to North America for the first race in North America, and we welcome new event. So yeah, Mount Jefferson's a new event. There are three races in the North American region this year. And then after that, it's going to be Gravity Fest. At the same time, a bit of a comeback to Europe is the Velfic race in Spain. And then 2 MGM events by Mike Gerard, our fellow board member here. He's handling both Gravity Fest as well as Killington. And then September ends the North America. We changed it this year, and we're ending the World Tour with South America, so starting in October. So there's going to be a break between North America and South America. And it starts off from an event in Colombia, from the guys in Colombia, Leonora DH, head by Teo. And then a new event also in South America, where we got the most number of additional racers this year. We're bringing up Ecuador, from Daniel and the gang in Ecuador. And then there's 2 races after that, one's World Qualifying, and then one's a World Cup in Peru, headed by Luis and company. So Ray de Montoya and Rakoyaimi will be a World Cup this year. And we end up with the last 3 years of the Open Division Champions. We're going to end up in Brazil with the Vista Rio Downhill. And that's your 2018 schedule.
Thanks a lot, Carlo. We really are expecting many exciting races and many new racing around the world. and really can't wait to start this season. And despite yet from the events, we also had to give a refresh to the world ranking calculation that we can see in the next slide. And as we will have more events this year compared to the last year, we had to rearrange a little bit the numbers because of this. So for what concerns the world rankings for the open skateboard category, we will count the best 7 results with a maximum of 5 World Cup in account. While also always for the world rankings for the women, for juniors, masters, and luge, we will count the 5 best results with a maximum of 3 World Cup in account. And giving a look the Continental Championship that we will have in this year. For the Europe, we will count the best 4 races. And for North America, South America, and Asia Pacific, we will count the best 3 races of the continent. And we're really excited to give the kickoff to the season. And despite we expect the best in the several World Cups around the world, we expect also as well really 4 exciting Continental Championship, and we are really looking forward to see this season starts. So I really wish good luck to all the organizer and all the racers this year that they will participate at the IDF season. So I don't know if there are any questions that we had along the web during the meeting. I don't see question on YouTube. I don't know, guys, if you have something else to add, Mike, Max, or Carl, to the meeting. I want to say thank you again to Colin to help assist us along this meeting with the presentation. And
yeah, definitely. Just thanks to the previous board members for staying involved, because there's a lot to learn and a lot to do. There's plenty of homework. And daily, weekly, monthly responsibilities, timing system to run, all that stuff, rankings. So thanks to everyone who's volunteered time to make sure the transition has gone well, and we certainly still can use all the help we can get. So everyone who's investing their time is super appreciated, and we're excited also to expand this conversation with WorldSkate. Stoked to have Luca here with us and to see how that pans out, because we're certainly biased, but we're excited to be doing a sport where it's pretty objective. There's no real need for judging. It's cut and dry, who finishes first, who advances, and I think that lends itself well to a competitive, formalized format, and lots of crashes for exciting spectating. So we're eager to see where that conversation goes.
Cool. Yes, right. So, guys, Luca is still here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. So, guys, thanks for attending this AGM. I think it's enough for today. And yeah, see you soon at the first event in Newtons in Australia. And thanks everybody to be here at the meeting. Bye, guys. Have a nice season.
See you later.
Bye.